Hello, youngsters. Mr. Bruce's book today is a Curious George book, Curious George and the Firefighters. But before we start, eyes watching, ears listening, voices quiet, and body calm. All right, let's see what Curious George and the Firefighters is about. As most of you know, this is George. George is a very good little monkey and always very curious. Today, George and his friend, who was the man with the yellow hat, joined Mrs. Gray and her class on their field trip to the fire station. A field trip is when all kids in the class get together and go somewhere and learn about something. Well, when they got there, the fire chief was waiting, and right next to them was a big red fire truck. "Welcome," he said, and he led everyone upstairs to start the tour of the firehouse. There was a kitchen with a big table. There were snacks for everyone. The fire chief told him all along about being a firefighter, and George tried hard to pay attention. But there were so many things for a little monkey to explore, like that shiny pole in the corner. What was that about? It went right through the floor and back downstairs, and there was the great big fire truck. There was a map of the city, and the whole wall was full of coats and hats and big black boots for the men to put on before they went out on the fire calls. George had an idea. First, he stepped into a pair of boots. Then, he picked up a helmet, put that on. Finally, he put on a jacket. Now he was a firefighter. Suddenly, the fire bell rang. Ding, 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 ding. Firemen, get ready. The firefighters all rushed in. "This is not my helmet," said one. "My boots are too big," said another. "Hurry, hurry," called the chief. A bright red light went on the map of the city and told them where the fire was. There was no time to wait. They had to go save whoever had a house on fire. One by one, the firefighters jumped on the truck. And so did George. "Hey, wait for me!" The fire truck with all the firefighters sped out of the firehouse, and so did George. The sirens screamed, the lights flashed, the truck turned right, then it turned left. Woo, 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 went the siren. And George, well, George just hold on tight. And just like that, the fire truck, and the firefighters pulled up to the pizza parlor on Main Street. Smoke was coming out of a window in the back. The crowd was gathering in front. "Thank goodness you're here," said the cook, and he ran out. The firefighters rushed off the truck and started unwinding their hoses. They knew just what to do. And George, he was ready to help. He climbed up on the hose and one of the firefighters saw George trying to help, and he took George by the arm and led him out of the way. "A fire's no place for a monkey," he said to George. "Stay here where it's safe." Well, George felt terrible that he couldn't help. George sat on a bench and looked around. Next to him on the ground was a bucket full of balls. George reached in and took one out. It fit right in his hand, just like an apple. What can I do with this? A little girl was watching. He tried to give her the ball, but she was too frightened. "No." George took another ball, and another. "Look," the boy said, "that monkey is juggling." You know what juggling is? When you put all the balls in the air and you keep them going with your hands. The boy took a ball from the cage, tossed it to George, but it went way too high for him to catch. George climbed back up onto the fire truck to try to get it. Now, George had 4 balls to juggle. He threw the balls higher and higher, and he juggled with his hands. He juggled with his feet. He could do all kinds of tricks. The boy threw another ball to George, and George threw a ball back to the boy. The little girl reached down and picked up a ball, and soon all the children were throwing balls back and forth and back and forth and back. The fire chief came to tell everybody the fire was out. Just then, the little girl laughed and said, "Look, Mommy, it's a fire monkey." "Hey," called the chief, "what are you doing up there?" "What a wonderful idea," the little girl's mother said to the fire chief, "to bring in this brave little monkey to help children when they're frightened." "Oh," the fire chief said, yes, thank you. That's what I was thinking." But he really wasn't. But it was a good idea. Before long, the truck was back at the firehouse where a familiar voice called, "George!" It was the man with the yellow hat. He was used to George going off on adventures. "This little monkey had quite an adventure," said one of the firefighters. "Is everyone all right?" asked Mrs. Gray. "Oh, yes," the chief said. "It was just a small fire, and George was a big help." Now the field trip was coming to an end, but there was one more treat in store. Look, the children were playing, going down the fire pole. All the children got to take a ride around the neighborhood in the shiny red fire truck, and they each got their very own fire helmet. Even George, and it was just the right size for a brave little monkey. The end. Well, the firemen sure do a good job, don't they? And I don't think they need a monkey's help, but it's nice that they brought a monkey along so the little kids wouldn't be scared. And that monkey was Curious George. All right, I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, be good to your folks and wash your hands. Bye-bye.